And also, like 5 years after that, my brother was going through some really heavy stuff and was threatening to kill himself.
Yeah.
And so I lived in Lansing and he lived in Chicago, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on Facebook and I said, does anybody in Chicago can swing by my brother's house and that can help him out? And he did. And, Chicago's a big place, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Carlos answered me and he drove over to my brother's house, which was like an hour away. And he went over there to help him. And I hadn't seen him in 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I won't ever forget that. That was 5 years later.
He sounds like a stellar human. I'm excited to meet him.
He is. He's like the best human.
Yeah.
So that was in 2017. And then I didn't see him again until 2021 when I went down to his gathering that he was hosting for the 2021 for the open gathering, which was usually the open gathering for the Dog Brothers is in Hermosa Beach in California,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we're going to go to in a couple months. But because of the pandemic, they had several different ones throughout, like Chicago, and I don't know where else they had them. I just know that I went to the one in Chicago and there's about 30 of us there. So I went to that one and I had texted Carlos and I'm like, okay, Guru Dan's not doing a seminar, so I'm going to come down to yours. I just want you to know I can barely walk, but I'm going to come and swing a stick. He's like, all right. So I got to see him again, and that was the first time I'd seen him in 9 years. So, and then I started training with the Dog Brothers. I told him, I was like, I'm just starting nurse practitioner school, but, I'm hooked. And so that's, what got me hooked. And then also I've been training with Ken LaFleur. He is also my instructor. He is in Flint, and which is a bit closer to me because, Carlos is in Chicago, which is like 3.5 hours away, but Ken is in Flint, which is an hour away from me, and his name is Trail Dog. So I go up there and train with him too. He's been getting me ready for the open gathering as well. So, and there's some fun people up there. So he's also my guy that trains me too. So there's him and there's Holden. So we just kind of all call ourselves the Midwest group.
Yeah.
Which is fun. So we had a seminar in Saginaw, Michigan back in April. So we have Saginaw people, we have Flint, we have Chicago, and we kind of all hang together, which is really fun.
It sounds like a really good group of humans, and I can't wait to meet Carlos, especially. And
well, I have invited you to come, and you won't come. So I'm just saying.
Invite me where?
I've invited you, and you said you don't want to come to Chicago. That you don't like Chicago.
Well, now I'm like publicly, and that's not exactly what I said, Michelle.
It is too. Never mind. You can edit this out.
Oh, that hurts. I believe what I had said was, I don't like going to Chicago, 100%. And if I did, I'd have to go train with the Defensor Method people, because that's something that I really miss, and that was just like yourself. At different points in our life, we have different teachers, right? And especially if it's kind of like in the eclectic JKD family, right? And then we learn a certain amount and kind of take it, and eventually it becomes almost our own, right? And so that would. It's not. I don't like the traffic in Chicago, straight up. Okay, but if I did, I'd probably train with my Defensor people. I'd have to be there for a week because I'd have to train with them. Have you ever had a chance to train with any of the Defensor Method people?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, you train with, everywhere else. You know what I mean? I was just wondering about that one.
I just remembered what I was going to say about Carlos.
Okay, let's go.
I just remember. Okay, so when we were talking about the fighting and stuff, well, what I was telling Carlos is when I get to Chicago or California, I just need my rage because as long as I have my rage, I will be fine. Because if I'm angry and aggressive, I will be fine when I fight. If I'm not, then I won't be. Because if I'm like in mom mode and I'm just all happy, because if I'm in nurse mode or mom mode or, I'm like, oh, like I am right now, people are going to, they're going to watch this. They're like, oh, she's nothing. She's not, I can kick her butt, but they've not seen me angry, right? So when we went to this thing in April, I think this is a funny story. We went to this thing in April and I was really, really angry when I got there. And it wasn't just one thing. I was just in a mood for a number of reasons. Number one, I work with a doctor who's 77 years old. So he is from an era where he's a great doctor and he's a great, kind old man, but he's from an era where he thinks that the sun rises and sets on the doctor and, doctors are God, right? Well, I have been a nurse for 32 years, so I am not into that crap, right? I know that nurses save your butts way more than the doctors do. So it gets under my skin. So you have that. And then, it was right around the time with there was just a lot of, I don't want to get into all that, but there was a whole lot of
stuff. When it piles up, every good human being has a point where it's piled up and the next one.
Yeah.
I hear you, sister.
So I got there and I was like, I cannot wait to hit somebody with a stick. I want to hit somebody with a stick. So, and they told me at the end of the seminar, we're going to have a bee sting. And I said, a bee sting. We're going to have a bee sting with Keith Jennings. Hi, Keith Jennings. So Keith Jennings is another dog brother who is not a full dog brother yet. I believe he's a candidate.
Okay.
So when you have the dog brothers, the way they do it is you're nothing, which is me, I'm nothing. And then you get to be a dog, which is you're accepted into the tribe. Then you get to be a candidate. So like first I would be just dog Michelle. Then I would be a candidate with my own name. Like I would pick a name, like Carlos is mall dog. So first he was candidate mall dog.
I think yours should be one word, angry nurse.
Yeah, well,
I'm throwing out ideas. You don't have to go with it.
I already have a name picked.
I bet you do.
Yeah. So actually, Carlos helped me pick my name already. So, but I'm not putting it out there.
All right.
And then when you get to be a full dog, then you drop the candidate. So then you're a full dog. So then you're like, he's mall dog.
Okay.
So, huh?
I said, okay, I'm following you.
Okay. So, anyway, where is I going with this story? The mall dog.
Carlos was doing something.
Mall dog. Oh, Keith. Okay.
Keith.
So Keith is, a fairly big guy. He works out with kettlebells, blah, blah, blah. And so they wanted to test his athleticism, and just kind of see where he was at. So they said, well, Keith is coming to the seminar. So what we're going to do is at the end of the seminar, we're all going to attack Keith one after the other. So like, we're going to all switch out, but he's not going to. So like 10 of us are going to spar him, but he's not going to get a break.
The MMA community calls that Shark Tank, but you guys did it with a stick. That's what it sounds like.
They call it what?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they call it bee sting. So they said anybody that wants to do it can do it. So, and we get to pick the weapon. Keith doesn't get to pick, we get to pick. So like, okay, well, this sounds fun. So there was 10 of us, and my son is a a beginner,
Mm-hmm.
and he has autism. He has higher functioning autism, but he does have autism. And one of the things I love about the Dog Brothers is how accepting and wonderful they are with my son.
He's got a bunch of uncles, bunch of dog uncles, I bet.
He does. And Keith is also a father, a very loving father. So he would never, ever, ever hurt my son, right? I say that. So we all were lined up at the end of the seminar. And I, because we're doing the seminar and I'm getting all tired and cranky. And I'm like, Carlos, when do we get to fight? I want to fight. And anyways, he's like, soon, soon, soon. So we finally get to fight. And we're lined up. And I had told Keith, I says, Keith, I says, as hard as you go on my son, it's going to be as hard as I go on you. I'm just telling you. And I was like half joking because I really didn't think he was going to hurt my son, right? So we lined up in order, and my son was like number 3, and I was like number 4. And so I turned my head for just a second, and I turned back, and my son is laying on the ground. And I was like, what? And because it was like my turn, and I was like, I just lit into him. I totally beat the crap out of him. And so then they had the video of the fights. And so I got to watch it later. And I was like, I showed my husband, because my husband was, he had gone down to his parents. He was building a ramp for his brother who has MS. So he had to build him a ramp. So
what a good guy, good brother.
So I looked at the thing and I was like, oh, it looks like Danny just kind of fell down.